And so he learned it at Jordanville. So there is a place at the seminary.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they continue it.
So we'll get started now, since we're all set up. So I think we finished everything in Plagal First up until the Glory Both Now before the dogmatic Theotokian.
Yes.
Right?
That's correct.
So that's where we'll start. We'll finish out Plagal First Mode, and then I think we won't introduce anything new. We'll just, if we have extra time, then we'll just I'll just rehash everything quickly what we've covered. So
254.
Yeah.
Starting with
Yep. Right before that.
Keep going.
Yep, there we are. And as I said last week, this is one of my favorite dogmatic Theotokians and a lot of people's favorite, although the slower one is better, but this one is very memorable. Has a lot of cool stuff in it. And but that's that. And then I apologize if I pitch things lower because right now that's where my voice is, and so if it is lower, that's what that is. Exactly. Yeah. This morning I was a frog, but now I'm much better. I don't know if should we close the door since Father is talking, or so we don't disturb him. And this, I think.
It might be a good backdrop for this conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so an optimist, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, yes, they were like little angels in the background.
Little angels. Sort of.
Okay, so we'll start with the glory. I figure we'll just sing straight through the glory and the both now, and then we'll go. What I'd like to do is sing in the Red Sea with the words as it is. Go back, sing with the note names, and then go back and sing with the words again, just to see how it changes. Whether it gets better or hopefully it doesn't get worse. But that'd be fun. So before we do that, we'll just sing the scale of the ni pavuga di kezani. Nizor pani. All right, so we get ke, but I won't put it where ke is in that scale because that would be a little too high. So ane, so that'll be our ke. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. Okay, now this is going to be a little long, but we can do it. So, and make sure your page turn is the appropriate page turn.
Well, here's the back of the page, so it's for you to mess that up.
Oh, I'd find a way.
Yeah. So, in the Red Sea there was once depicted an image of the unwedded bride. There Moses divided the water. Here Gabriel doth minister the wonder. Then the deep was trodden dry, shod by Israel. Now Christ is born seedlessly of the Virgin. The sea after the passage of Israel remained untrodden. The blameless one after the birth of Emmanuel remained undefiled. O thou who white and ever before didst exist and hast appeared as man, O God, have mercy on us. Everything was fine up until
Everybody else.
up until us. That was it. It was so
That's
close.
like the knee, right?
Yes, which is that's one of those hard jumps because you jump up 4 and you're like, okay, I got jump up 4, and you're like, wait a minute, this is not a normal jump up 4 because it's from ga sharp up to knee. So mercy on us. Do we have to go through that ending again, or is that?
Yeah, let's do that again.
Let's go. Oh God, have mercy on us. Oh God, have mercy on us.
And again.
So, us. Okay, so we'll all sing it. Oh God, have mercy on us. Oh.
Flat.
Anzo, yeah. I do it somewhere in between. So I'm not sure if it's a full flat, but that kind of sounds to me, at least from my listenings and talking to people, that it's kind of our Western ear being like, okay, we're just gonna go all the way Western on that because that's all we know is B flat or B natural.
Is that 2 flats? Or
I think so.
Uh-huh.
Maybe we'll listen to something at the end just to see what they do. But I mean, flatting it full is fine, at least for the moment. Well, I mean, in the service, I'm not going to be like, no, this is wrong. Vespers is ruined.
Storms off.
Yeah, I'm leaving. It's like, oh, glad some light. What happened?
Take all the music and leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Walk out.
So.
It happened.
It has happened.
Yes.
So.
It's
Yeah.
overwording. Oh God, bringing back memories. Yeah.
I had that happen in a church where the reader, he was doing the epistle, and in the Russian church, the reader is in the center of the church. It's it's all the same way we do it here, but it's very specific and very kind of important. It's a little bit less in the Greek church as I've seen, but the reader got confused. The choir did something that he didn't expect them to do, so he ran back on the altar, and he was like, man, at least I got out of there. And meanwhile, the choir looks down, they're like, wait, where'd he go? Because he was supposed to continue, it was a back and forth for the Alleluia verse, and they finished singing, and there's no one to do the Alleluia verse, and it was kind of like, what happened? And so the choir scrambled and found whatever.
I know, because usually, sometimes they confuse, they read the Alleluia in the first steep.
Yeah.
Right after that, all together.
Mm-hmm.
The choir's supposed to sing 3 times.
Right.
But a lot of them forget, and they combine the 2 steep, and then the choir is stuck with the last verse, and they'll read it.
Well,
he's already finished his verse.
This reader
he walks off. He walks off. He was supposed to. Choirs.
Yeah.
Who is the new steep?
Yeah.
I know. I've been in that.
No, we had it where this reader just got confused and was like, didn't do any of them.
Well, that's not good.
That's
supposed to do at least a few.
Yeah. So at least one. One is good. Oh God, have mercy on us. Truly.
Yes.
Oh God, have mercy on us. And the only thing that I do,
We're
they're
approaching
different.
the idea of it, I think.
What?
I said we're approaching the idea of it.
Oh, yeah, right. On us, I always just, and this may be throwing you guys off, I'm not sure, but the and so I articulate before the end of it just to re-emphasize beat 3 of it. And I think when I was doing that, I think you guys thought, oh, he's moving.
He's moving, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, no, I'm just re-hitting it. So it's kind of just a little bump. So let's go back to the beginning, and we'll hit it more. So let's go back to the beginning, do it ni pavu.
What? You changed up on me.
So
from the beginning is where the glory.
In the Red Sea. We'll just go in the Red Sea. And then Ane Satsarke Vike Zoni Zorke Kevi kezo nipa nizo nizo kezo zo nizo ke kezo nizo kezo kezo nizo ke. How was that? Let's do that one more time, just because. Their modes divide the water, but on the note names. Kezo, nizo, kezo, kezo, nizo, ke. Ni, pa, nizo, ke, vi, kezo, nizo, ke. Kevi kezo nizo nizo kezo pa ni ni pa nizo ni vi kezo nizo ke nizo ke zo nizo ke zo ni zo ke zo ni pa vu pa ni zo ni pa ni zo ke zo ni zo ke kezo vi kezo ni pa nizo ke zo ni kezo zo nizo ke kezo ke vi ga nizo ke Cool. So, which one was more difficult?
Ooh. The second one.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I think it was somewhere in the middle of the second page, like, Israel remained untrodden. After that, it seemed like it was kind of like people were getting slower and kind of trudging along.
But can we do this second to last phrase here, O thou who art?
Sure.
I got it.
Ane kezo vi kezo ni pa nizo ke zo ni kezo zo nizo ke. Is it okay? Okay. Any questions on that? And we'll go back and we'll do it with the words, but quicker now. Okay. So, and hopefully this will be a little bit more tempo. Ane, from the glory. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. In the Red Sea there was once depicted an image of the unwedded bride. There Moses divided the water. Here Gabriel doth minister the wonder. Then the deep was trodden dry, shod by Israel. Now Christ is born seedlessly of the Virgin. The sea after the passage of Israel remained untrodden. the blameless one after the birth of Emmanuel remained undefiled. O thou who art and ever before didst exist and hast appeared as man, O God, have mercy on us. Cool.
Best ending ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
These the last three.
and we talked about those endings, like why they are that way,
The
right?
fluctuation of voice.
Why they are what way?
At the I know the umlaut. That's
Yeah, the little
I've heard
fluctuation
other
there.
fluctuations in it. But you do it also the Virgin. No, listen. You do it as a style. Or what?
Where? What? Where?
Oh, the Virgin.
Oh yeah, that style. I also did it on. Now Christ is born seedlessly of the Virgin. Yeah, so I did it on seed as well, seedlessly.
It almost seems like you want something there because otherwise you're sitting at this platform and
Yeah.
then you just drop down. It seems like you want some sort of transition.
It's kind of like now Christ is born seedless. I don't know. It's kind of, and of course I did it there very boringly, so I made it sound exceedingly boring. Hello,
You all sound great.
thank you.
Doing good work.
We've got an excellent teacher. He has
Yes,
led
indeed.
us solidly and strongly. Yes.
Courageously
Sorry,
through
yeah,
the.
courageously through all our mistakes. And
Have fun.
Hey.
Merry Christmas.
Occasional heresy, but
yes,
who's counting?
We try not to bring too much
Yeah,
into the
heresy
class.
this, yes.
Yeah, I mean it's Byzantine chant. It's not heresy class. So, but speaking of heresy,
Meets on Tuesdays.
Speaking of heresy.
what is that meets on Tuesdays? That's the self help class, or the peer
Peer depression group. Yes.
Oh no, it's like you have troubles with heresy, so everyone's gets together. It's like I have problems.
Share your
Yeah.
heresy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now the interesting thing. So this is dogmatic Theotokian with all these resurrectional stichira. But if you notice, it's about the nativity. And I remember my friend Stefan in Pittsburgh. We're giving a lecture on Christmas hymns, and he was like, "Nick, I'm going to use the tone 5 dogmatic Theotokian," and I was like, "Why?" I was like, "That makes no sense." And he was like, "No." He was like, "All of these, they all deal with the incarnation." I was like, "I agree," but I was like, "But like, it's not a Christmas hymn." And he was like, "Nick, read the hymn." And I was like, then the deep was trodden on dry. Now Christ is born seedlessly. And I was like, "Oh, okay,
All right.
okay, I'm sorry." And so the entire thing is about the nativity and Gabriel administering the wonder in this case and how it's prefigured in the Old Testament. So,
Don't argue with Stefan.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I learned the hard way all the
But
time.
anyway, do it anyway.
Yeah,
Step on stoves.
Yeah, at some point he was like, "Nick, you're much more like when I was younger. I was much more not humble, but I wouldn't say anything." And he was like, "You're fighting back against me." He was like, "This is new." Our head chanter in
This is
Pittsburgh.
sung all the time. I mean, this is not just this. Dogmatic is
Well,
sung
any
not just for
Plagal First
right.
Saturday evening,
Because it's appropriate for many holidays.
and also at weddings. This is a lot of times the recessional.
It's appropriate
Yeah, really?
for so many things.
This one along with
It's not
the
just the
tone
opposite.
one, dogmatic Theotokian. This the long version is normally a recessional at weddings. It's also somewhere else. I forget where.
I mean,
Idea.
we don't do that here for the weddings, but
Oh really?
we've never done it.
Oh, what do you guys?
What do we do? I've never been to an Orthodox wedding.
Oh, really?
I have no idea.
Oh
A lot
man.
of times, like the last couple I've been to, there's been like 2 people, and there hasn't been a reception.
Oh.
We're done.
Oh, okay. No, I was at this one wedding recently, and this will be a very short story because it has nothing to do with anything. But it was a lot of people, and then they did a receiving line, and so then before the wedding, they were like, "We want at least a half hour of music," and of course the bride was late, so that turns into 45 minutes to an hour worth of music, and so you got to be prepared for that. So we were singing lots of slow hymns and lots of like the ones where it just goes straight through all the psalm. So we did Psalm 44, a good word for the Theotokos, which is very appropriate for weddings, and then at the end we sang this. Then we sang it in Greek, and the slow version, and then we did the tone 1-1. Then we did it in Greek, and then we did a bunch of other things, and then eventually we kind of looked and we were like, they're it's done, you know. But we sang a lot before and a lot afterwards because the wedding service itself doesn't have very much music. You sing Lord have mercy and a few hymns, but not very much.
Well, except the end, Rejoice Isaiah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Although
That takes a lot of
That's the
time.
main piece.
sometimes, at least the wedding that we were at, the priest did Rejoice, O Isaiah, and then we did the second one, and I think we went back and forth for certain ones. But yeah, that's the big thing to chant there. Rejoice, O Isaiah, and the other two Troparia.
In the many years. Many versions of many years.
Yeah, well, we wanted to do it many years in Byzantine because like we don't,
Oh.
you never do
I've
that.
never heard that.
You never do it. That's the problem. Except Romanians do it in kind of. They have. It's not really Byzantine, but it's more unison. But we broke out because we always did Byzantine chant and 2 parts, and then afterwards we were like, well, what do we do? So we just break out into 3 parts, all male or all male plus a few females, how many we had. And then everyone was like, I didn't know you guys could do anything else other than Byzantine. And we were like, we're skilled. We have.
men.
Yeah. But it was actually, they were like, that was the best part of the service was when he broke in a 3-part harmony.
And many years.
We just endured the rest of it, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. The rest of it was terrible.
Yes.
But that's weddings.
I'm clearly going to have to check out an Orthodox wedding at some point, aren't I?
They're all
Yeah. Oh, they're very nice.
Yes.
We have one coming up in March, so
Here?
it's Father David's doing the service, but it's going to be up in St. Peter and Paul.
Mm.
So Hokim, you know Ho?
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah.
I feel like I should know them.
Yeah, he Hokim and Sue.
Oh, Hokin, yes. Oh, I heard just Hokin, I thought that was the last name.
No, Hokim.
Okay, yes.
Yep.
Hokin, yes. Oh, cool. I'll have a legitimate reason to sit in the back. And...
So let's go to the Apostica. And unless there's any other questions on the dogmatic Theotikian?
Nope.
Okay.
Wait a minute, is the wedding during Lent?
No.
Okay.
Lent is really late. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my first question. I was like, March, because it's in March.
Yeah.
I was like,
Easter's late.
yeah.
I don't know when it starts.
It-
It'll be March.
It's close, but it's not. It's still early enough. So I think it's like middle March or end of March, and they're like the first week of March.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that was my first thing. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, do they know that you can't do? Yeah,
No, I think they know they should.
yeah. My Ida, the one wedding I was mentioning, they did it on November 11th, like really close to the Nativity fast, and I was like, that's cutting it close. I was like, I don't know.
No, they
Can't get a rain date. You know?
Yeah.
Can't be the next Sunday.
Yeah, you can't
they
change it.
line up. They line up before the fast starts.
Hmm?
Yeah,
They
probably.
line up for the wedding.
Oh, really? Huh.
Multiple weddings. So
Yeah.
Stay before the fast.
I had no idea. Normally, I find people they just do it during the summer just to get it. As
No,
far
I
away
think
from a
if you live
fast.
in Rush, that's what they do. They
Oh,
just
really?
line up because they know that's their last chance.
Yes.
Wow. For a little while.
For a little while.
Yeah.
For 40 days.
And they had
Yeah.
multiple weddings, 10 couples. or
Wow.
something.
My goodness. Huh.
Wow.
That's something to see.
Yeah, it is. No, it is quite expected.
So the Apostica, and starting again on K. So, ane, so there are power legi with note names. Kevi kezoni pani zo kezo zoni ni zo kezo ni pani zo pani zo kezo ke vi kezo ni pa zoni pa pani zoni zo ke vi ni zo ke pa ke vi ke vi ga vi ke. All right, that was a little fast. I apologize.
It was a little.
Yeah.
We stayed with you all to the end, though.
I think we stuck through it though,
The
but
Gates of Hades was a little bit.
yeah, that was yeah, most of it was just like up and down. I think it was Hades and then Loveth Man. That was a little bit, but yeah. The ni zoke zoni pake.
We flattened Zo.
Yeah,
I guess it'd be
flat
hour.
so, so.
Our race.
Wow.
Did you do that?
Oh, maybe
Saving
I.
our souls, yeah. Flattened it.
We're saving our souls.
No, the phrase before that. That accept the cross and death.
And thou didst accept the cross and death for the sake of our race.
Oh, okay. We didn't.
Oh,
Is that how
our
you sang it?
what?
Is that how you sang it?
I think that's how I sang it.
Okay.
I don't know. we can go back to replay again. Well, instant. Yeah, slow it down. It's okay.
You clearly flattened it there.
Yeah, flattened everything. But like an octave. So let's sing it with the words.
All right. So it's the last. Good thing it's the last one before Christmas. Huh? So like we all need a break.
Yeah. We're going to do our wits
break
end.
for some of us because you all are leaving. So
Yeah.
we're getting a break.
Yeah. Why's that? Sometimes when I go somewhere else, they're like, "Oh, good, you're here. Can you sing in the choir?" I'm like, "No, I go somewhere else, so I don't have to."
Vacation.
Yeah, exactly. So thee, O Christ our Savior, who was incarnate, and yet was not parted from the heavens, do we magnify with voices of song. For as the Lord who loveth man, thou didst accept the cross and death for the sake of our race, despoiling the gates of Hades. Thou didst arise on the third day, saving our souls. And arise would be regular. Arise would be regular.
We flattened it.
Yeah. Thou didst arise on the third day, saving our souls.
They're two different versions.
Yeah, so arise is regular.
Okay.
Okay, I'm happy with that. If that's all right.
I'm scarily happy with that.
So, the Lord is King. He is clothed with majesty. And let's do this one. Let's do all of this just straight on the words. I think it would be fine. The only thing, let's look at it initially. When thy side was pierced, O giver of life, the giver is all fast. Yeah. Then the fourth line, and whilst dwelling in the grave. That's our weird thing where we go down to Zo. Zo is flat there, and then we go down to lo pa. Yep. So we'll make sure to keep this high, so our pa is okay. And personally, I really like that. I don't know. It's very cool. Yeah, she kind of changed it, and especially when you get when the E song goes to thee there, you know something changes. So then, da da da, immortality, and whilst dwelling in the grave, thou didst free us.
Word painting.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So that's the only flat that's not a Torah or something like that. It's the thing that
That
when you
keeps
say you change to chromatic.
right. This
That's
one,
not this.
this one's a one-time use
Just
flat.
one off, yeah.
Yeah.
One flat.
Yeah, just one time use flat.
Think of that.
Yep, it's just on that note and that note alone. And yeah, I think everything else is fine. Anyone else see anything?
Nope.
Cool. Yeah, and we have, the last line, we have the cry out, which is the same as Hades, which is the same as all sorts of other things we've done. So there's little similarities. Anes, the Lord is King. The Lord is King, He is clothed with majesty. The Lord is clothed with strength, and He hath girded Himself. When thy side was pierced, O giver of life, thou didst pour forth streams of forgiveness, life, and salvation for all. Thou didst accept death in the flesh, thereby granting us immortality. and whilst dwelling in the grave, thou didst free us, and gloriously as God didst raise us up together with thyself. Wherefore we cry out, O friend of man, Lord, glory be to thee. Cool. I think that worked out really nicely. We don't have to do it again. I'm fine with the one thing with this, I do like with Byzantine chant. Really?
Yeah,
Too low?
No, it's not too low. It's just
comes out. You don't hear it very often, but when you hear it, I don't know whether it just like other people would notice it, but I notice it. I'm wondering if like the congregation would be like, "Whoa, they did something neat there, or they did something different." Yeah, exactly. And I like at the end, "Wherefore we cry out." The way that this is phrased, it's almost phrased as if you were speaking it. Whereas a lot of the Russian hymns, they kind of blare through that. It's like, "Wherefore we cry out, O friend of man, Lord, glory be," like it just goes straight through. But this one, "Wherefore we cry out, O friend of man, Lord, glory be to thee." So it really, because of all the pauses there, it really allows you to separate it as you would say it, which I like. All right. This one's a funny hymn. This next one, it's not really hilarious at all, but it's okay. So strange.
Hilarious life.
No, it's.
Which some have translated.
Yeah. Wait, really? Oh, hilarious light.
It's some bad retranslation. So
yeah.
Glad some light is because it's Fosilaron.
The hilarious
oh, yeah. So yeah, it gives you gladness. It gives you. Wow. Well, that's something else.
Oh, hilarious light.
Yeah. That would be something to hear in the midst. Wow.
That's tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow's class. We'll all meet back up and be like, I'm Nick and I have a problem.
Hello, Nick.
Tell us about yourself.
It's been 3 months since I've uttered a heresy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the heresy hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. But this one, it's funny because it's kind of like strange as like crucifixion and descent into Hades or friend of man. It's just this kind of like, this is weird. I don't understand it. So it's kind of, and then it goes on to talk about why it's strange, I guess. So, for he has established the world, let's do this one. Let's do this one on Nipavu. There's some fun parts in here that'll trip you up. So, for he has established the world, followed by paralogy. Anes. For he established the world, which shall not be shaken. Word pinning. Zoke vike zoni pani. Ni zoke zoke ni zoke. Kezo ni pavo pa ni zo kezo ni zo ke kezo vi kezo pa ni Zoni ke vi ke zoni ni pa ni zo ke zoni ni pa zoni zo ke vi ke zoni zo ke ni zo ni pa ni zo ke zo ni zo ke vi ga vi ke zo ke. All right, a little long. And if you notice, a lot of them, they all end ke vi ga vi ke zo ke again and again and again. Okay, let's do it. And you guys didn't screw up on the third line at the end. I was impressed. The Kezoli, which kind of comes very quickly. Kezoli, Kezopanini.
It's
Oh, yeah,
it's
that
our
is-
Christmas present to you.
Why, thank you. I touched my heart. It's the most a teacher could want.
Yes.
So, verse number 3, Apostica number 3, unless there's any questions. Most of these, there's nothing to be questioned, I don't think. They're all pretty straightforward. So, for he established the world, followed by strange like crucifixion. Anes, for he established the world, which shall not be shaken. Strange is thy crucifixion, and descent into Hades, O friend of man. For thou didst despoil it, and didst gloriously raise up with thyself the captives of old, since thou art God. Thou didst open paradise, and make us worthy thereof. Wherefore do thou grant forgiveness of sins also unto us who glorify thine rising on the third day, and deem us worthy to dwell in paradise, since thou alone art compassionate. Cool. The only thing of note worth mentioning is the third line from the bottom. Also unto us who glorify. You may or may not flutter there, because sometimes that's a good place to breathe, because you're going to keep going, and it's a question of, are you out of gas from the previous lines? So sometimes you might flutter. Sometimes my inclination this past time was not to flutter, and then I heard you all flutter, and I was like, okay, I'll flutter too. I kind of jumped on the bandwagon there, and then ran out of breath 2 notes later. So
Peer pressure.
yeah, I know. I got to learn. Don't do drugs. So next
Say no
time.
fluttering if you're out of breath.
Yeah, no, say no. You think that's what you learn when you're younger. It's like just don't run out of breath.
Yes.
But I will learn eventually. But that's one case where I think it's long enough, or there's enough space there that you might decide not to flutter. So yeah, don't give in to what other people do. So verse number 4, Apostic number 4 with the words. I don't think. The ending of this one is different. Yes. So look at it for a minute. I will give you 5 seconds.
3, 2, 1.
Exactly. Countdown.
Okay.
And I save us. And the only thing I'd say, we have two of the Gorgons we have Arise and we have Transgressions here.
Right.
Not that we haven't been doing this, because we have been, but just because there's more here, relaxed. That nothing. It doesn't have to be rise. It's not very specific. So, which sometimes when there's a lot of rhythm, it ends up being I have to do it exactly as it's written. And if you listen to the chanters that do it, it's very not laissez-faire. It's like just very relaxed. It's kind of easily. It's kind of. I don't know. There's an easiness to it, an easy quality when they chant it. So, but we've been relaxed anyway. So, verse number. Yeah, sometimes we just ignore all the
fine
stuff.
line between relaxed and sloppy.
Yeah. So verse number 4, Apostica number 4. All on the words. We'll just go right through it. So. Aneones, holiness becometh thy house, O Lord, unto length of days. O thou who didst accept the passion in the flesh for our sake, and didst arise on the third day, do thou heal the passions of our flesh, and raise us up from grievous transgressions, O friend of man, and save us. Cool. Yeah.
Could you go with the save us?
Yeah.
Save us. I don't know.
Save us. Just a little. Save us. Save us, Donna, save us. So just a little flutter there. And Arise was an awesome Gorgon, I must say. I liked that one. You guys did quite nicely. Yeah, and not that Transgressions was not nice, but compared, Arise was so much more awesome. So, and the other thing here, Arise and raise us up from grievous transgressions. You can pause there. That's not, since there's a comma, and also since it's sometimes it's an appropriate place to breathe. Like that might be one place where you could put a plus in the midst of the music, just as suggested breath and a suggested possible pause. Depending, and it's always depending upon if you're singing solo versus if you're singing in a choir, it changes your decision making process. Let's do the apostolical Theotokian.
Okay.
And then we're done. Then we're done Plagal 1, I guess. I think that's it that you have in your package. So, if you notice, the Glory Both Now is different than what we did before. I'll have to look and see which one I like better. I'm not sure. Let's do this one. Let's just read this through. No.
No, please.
No, let's just do it straight on the words. Well, I'm curious to see how you guys do. I think you're doing fine just sight reading it. Not that we shouldn't do it on paralogy, but I think just this one, I think we can sight read it and see how we do. Maybe we'll go back and do a paralogy, but we'll see. We'll see how it works. I'll give you a moment to look. Second line, Virgin. We've seen that before. You've seen this before, or you've seen this before. Isn't that the Lord of the Rings or something?
It seemed to be coincidence, but it's not.
Yeah. And then if you look first line of the second page, you've also seen something very similar to that. The end of the line. But this one's lighten, so it's not exactly the same. And then second line, and according, we've sung that before. The only thing I don't think we've seen before, unless I'm mistaken, we might have seen it in other hymns, but the end of, let's see, third line from the bottom, wherefore, O all hymned one, since thou hast boldness towards him as his mother. We haven't seen that very much. The him as
I remember
his...
seeing that once before.
Yeah, I think
it just caught me then too.
Yeah, it's very characteristic, but I don't think we've seen it except for like you said once or twice maybe.
It's like the reverse of the pop, low pop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then the ending.
Yep.
The ending.
Unceasingly that our souls be saved. So, a little bit different, but still pretty much the same. Oh, and the thing, we never talked about these endings and what they mean, did we? Like all these, when they don't really slow down. You can kind of slow them down. I've heard people slow them down tremendously, which I don't particularly like. They're like, ceasingly that our souls be saved. And it already slows itself down, and that just kind of, I don't know, that seems too much. But these, why do we have these little endings here? Do you recall? Did we ever talk about that?
Have the endings?
Yeah.
No.
Like, why
Wake
do
up the priest.
wake up the priest? Exactly.
I
Yeah.
remember that from the
Yes,
class.
From the class, yes.
We could talk about it. You won't tell him, Lee.
No. Of course not. No.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, the class that shall
That's
not
your
be
own
talking
theory,
about.
or
No. This is legit. I mean that's
recognize you come to the end of something.
well. This normally tells the priest either get ready for something, or it's your turn next, or you have to say something. And so if you notice all the stichira and all the regular apostiga, they don't have anything like that.
Right.
They have little endings, like little characteristic endings, but this one is a characteristic ending par excellence. You know, this one's one where you notice something's. It's the end of something, end of an era of something.
Oh, the end of the apostle.
Yeah, the end of the apostica.
Yeah, then you have to get priest.
And then it goes to something else. And I think the key here, Lord, now lettest thou thy servant, is often, at least in Greek churches, said by the priest or by the bishop.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In Russian churches, not so much. Oftentimes they sing it, or it's read by somebody. Here we read it normally. At the Antiochian churches, because the Russians sing it, and they got all their books translated by the Russian or from the Russians, in there it says, Lord, now lettest thou thy servant, Plagal second mode, or tone 6. And so then they're like, oh, well, we'll write it in tone 6. So a lot of the Antiochian churches, they have Lord, now lettest thou thy servant, a Byzantine hymn, and that's not really traditional. But so this is to tell the priest, okay, your turn, you get to go. Sometimes it does, it's enough that if the priest is sleeping, which does sometimes happen, it's enough to wake him up, because it changes. It's not this da dun 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 da da dun dun da. When it goes da 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 da, it's enough to kind of be like, wait a minute, your brain knows that something's different. And we've had it before where priests are asleep and they're like, man, I'm glad you guys had that ending.
Or even
sure.
with Father, once I knew why we did that, I made a point of when you're chanting, like the epistle or something like that, if you're chanting and you don't do it, he's waiting for that, and if he doesn't hear it, you there's this pause.
And you don't know, it doesn't allow it to flow seamlessly.
Right.
And then sometimes it's a question of, are they taking a breath? Are they swallowing?
Yeah.
Did something happen, or are they done?
Right.
And so if you do something to show finality to it, it helps out tremendously. And we actually, like sometimes our priests, like they wait for that key, and they really, they were at churches where they read a lot of the hymns, or they didn't sing them the way that they were supposed to be. And when they came to our church, they were like, I really like, having these little markers or cues, like little things. And it's just little interplays, because a lot of the times the priest does not know the liturgics and does not know how to put a service together. And this was surprising to me. Father David knows very well, which is sometimes intimidating. But because I'm like, I hope Then there's someone in second double check me, and I hope that I don't do it incorrectly. But at other churches, I've been there, and I go off and I'm like, which would you rather do? This saint of the day, or this, or how would you like me to put the service together? They were like, I have no idea. They're like, you're the chanter. You put it together. They're like, you know how it goes together. And they had no idea how Vespers was put together. They just knew, when they do this, I do this. They had no idea what hymns go where. And then I asked, well, what do they teach you at seminary? They said, not that. And sometimes it depends on the track that you take. And I guess if you're a more musical person, then you learn more about it. But a lot of them, they don't learn it at all. I mean, 3+ years at seminary, and there's no liturgics. The only thing you know is maybe like Vespers is the evening service, which has a theological background. But to go through and say, this is how the service is structured, this is what hymns you choose, and if it's a feast day, you do this, and if it's a feast day on a Sunday, you do this. Nothing like that. And all the cool things that the fathers have put together in the hymns, they don't learn. And so, as much as I thought priests knew, a lot of times they're just, that's, the chanter should know a lot of this. And if the chanter doesn't know that, then it's a problem, because then it almost puts much more weight on the priest. And if the priest can't just be a priest, now he has to be the liturgical scholar. And then he has to be the chanter that preps for the services, when he should be able to just come, know the saint of the day, and know what he's going to preach on. And the chanter should have everything set, and just Stefan again, our head chanter in Pittsburgh, he was speaking from his previous teacher, who also told him not to tell any of these things, was that, and I will tell you these things that I was also told not to tell. But he was told, the chanter was like, what he was talking to Stefan. He was like, what is the role of the chanter? And Stefan was like, to chant the services. He was like, wrong. And it was kind of like, okay, to lead the people. He was like, wrong. And not that any of his answers were incorrect, but it was like, our job is to make the priest look good. And Stefan was like, interesting. And a lot of it was to make the service flow well, to make it seem like it's a very well ordered, that everything is in its proper place. There's an order, there's a reason for everything. And so you give little cues to the priest. That way you let the priest know if there's Old Testament reading, so he doesn't not close the doors and then begin something, and then you have to go like, you want to prep the priest for what they need to do and make sure everything flows seamlessly. And then with that, the same thing with Lord Have Mercies. The one thing he said, we had a priest that couldn't really match pitches all the time. And then it was a question, what do you do? Do you take their pitch, or do you take your own pitch? And some priests, they'll change to your pitch because they're musical.
Yeah.
This priest, he picked a pitch and kept with it. So with that, we couldn't do that. Otherwise, the service sounds disjointed. So
as long as he stays on that pitch.
Well, that's the thing, was that you had to. He was a one note Charlie or whatever. Yeah.
Dropping the pitch.
Yeah. And so then we eventually picked his pitch or learned how to use his pitch. In a constructive fashion, not like, oh man, the stupid priest just can't help us out. No, it was like, the priest is not a chanter. At least this priest it wasn't a chanter, and so then we had to make him look good. Because you don't want to be this battle between the priest and the chanter. So we picked a Lord Have Mercy that was probably a little bit higher than we would have liked, but fit with him. Or sometimes was a little lower than we would have liked, but we had chanters that could hit it, so it was all good.
And now we're all part of this sordid conspiracy.
To make the priest look good? Or?
Yeah.
Just don't tell anyone. Not internet. Don't tell anyone. No, but this is not one of those things that's like secretive. There's a lot more things that when we've talked about them as chanters, like there are things that reading through the hymns you start to notice little things that if I were to tell someone just in the congregation, it wouldn't scandalize them, but just like the depth and some of the metaphors that are used in the hymns, they're not something to just throw around lightly. And if you were to just tell someone like, oh, this means this, they'd be like, there's this pang of conscience that's like, what? I had no idea, and now I'm held responsible for it. Or it's just kind of, sometimes it can throw them for a loop. So those things you only tell just in more close circles. The close layer of disciples, as Christ only told certain people certain things.
Yes, as we sit at your feet.
But yeah, so glory to the Father. Let's sing it all on the words. Oh yeah, we never actually sang it.
Nope.
I'll have to look back at the video and see what it is that we did. Glory both now. Ane, ane. Yeah. So, glory to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. Our temple and gate art thou, a palace and throne of the King, O all revered Virgin, through whom my Redeemer Christ the Lord hath appeared to them that slept in darkness, since he is the Son of righteousness. For he will do enlighten those whom he had fashioned by his own hand, according to his own image. Wherefore, O hymned one, since thou hast boldness toward him as his mother, intercede thou unceasingly, that our souls be saved. think that worked out okay. Any difficult portions there?
Yeah, I got
There was a few kind of phrases that seemed to go longer than I would have expected, I guess.
And I was having breathing problems with those.
Yeah. Sometimes you expect to be able to breathe and then you can't
Yeah.
because you're either in the midst of a word or it's like, oh, all revered. Breathe, virgin. Yeah. So, and I think if we did it a little bit more quickly, then I think that would help. I think the hard one for me was on the second line of the second page. Those whom he had fashioned by his own hand according to his own image. And I was kind of like, I really want to breathe there, but I can't breathe in the middle of a word. According. It doesn't really work out so well.
Well, I guess if you have multiple singers, they can use.
Yeah, you breathe at different times.
So it helps. But
if you're not either, one of the big chanters in Greece, I was wondering, like, he does so long phrases, and then I was wondering, like, how. And then I looked at his bio, and he's like a world-class runner and scuba dives. Yeah. and I was kind of like, well, that makes sense, you know, and he just could sing these phrases. Let's sing it one more time. I work on the breathing. And what we should do is we should, like, run around the building and then come back in and sing it, and then be... That's apparently what rappers do, to make sure that they can rap, like, when they're nervous on stage and if they're, like, running out of breath. They'll run, like, they'll do track and rap at the same time. I learned this from my brother, who's in the know.
I will have to ask my son.
Yeah, so...
State theater.
So sometimes... Really?
Yeah, like Luke Twin.
Oh, really?
Comes through every year.
Really? Wow. Yeah, so I wonder... I mean, I guess it depends on the rapper, but it's funny, a lot of the people that you think that they're like rough and tumble, like punk singers and hardcore rockers and rappers. Like they're like a lot of the punk singers, they're in their dressing room like la 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 la, and like they're very separate because they don't want anyone to know that they're warming up their voice to make sure that they can sing and scream correctly, and not lose their voice during the show.
That's what Jordan says about the rappers.
Really?
That the rappers are actually the most professional, nice people that come through. And
really?
They just no crap.
Yeah.
All that. It's he said a lot of the rockers said that they also are very finicky about what they drink before because that's how they warm up their voice.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like water and lemon, you know.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
It's amazing that the people you think that they're just like, you know, they're rough and tumble, and then it's kind of they're there and they're like can't do this. I have to, you know, I have to prep myself.
I must focus on this.
Yeah.
Just make the 40 is on the stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Before they go in, they're just so in this professional mode.
Yeah.
That they come on stage and then all bets are off and all that. But
yeah, then they become the performers both time, but like the one is with an audience, the one is prepping for a show. So, glory to the Father. Well, I think it's Holy Week when a lot of times we have like meals beforehand, depending upon the services that we have, and a lot of us chanters we just won't eat.
Yeah, it's hard to eat a meal and then sing.
Yeah, that we could specifically because of that, because we'll be like, you know, from the morning. It's kind of like that was unprofessional, you know. And I mean, if we'll eat afterwards, and you know, but yeah, a lot of times we'll go hungry just because that's what you got to do. As long as you don't faint, that's the key. So, glory to the Father both now, followed by again the Apostolic Theotokien, and then we'll be done. Well, I think it was a little high the last time. So, glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. A temple and gate art thou, a palace and throne of the King, O all revered Virgin, through whom my Redeemer Christ the Lord hath appeared to them that slept in darkness, since he is the Son of righteousness. For he will do enlighten those whom he had fashioned by his own hand, according to his own image. Wherefore, O hymned one, since thou hast boldness toward him as his mother, intercede thou unceasingly, that our souls be saved. And sorry, I counted that wrong. I was used to the last one where it was 3 beats. This one is only 2 beats. The souls be saved. Cool. I'm happy with that, and I think this answers the question. Like we always say, Most Holy Theotokos, save us in the midst of the service. And this kind of answered it. Wherefore, O hymned one, since thou hast boldness towards him as his mother, intercede thou unceasingly that our souls be saved. Harkening back to the wedding at Cana, where she kind of do what he tells you. Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, I'm done. Thank you guys for this. I guess it hasn't been a full year, but it's been a lot of a year, I guess.
Wasn't since the summer?
Since the summer, I guess pretty much we were pretty regular. So, half a
In
year.
Georgetown.
Yeah, in
It was a
Georgetown.
bit of Georgetown. But what's happening with that?
I haven't been contacted. They told me that they would get in touch with me, and I never heard back from them. So